Welcome to the Core Flowchart How-To. In this video, we're going to talk about what the flowchart is and how you can use it. To do that first, we need a little background. Conflict is when reality is this and we experience this. It's the difference between what we think it is and what it really is. Now that's not necessarily a problem, however, we're not used to this happening and we don't expect it, and that's part of the issue. The second part of the problem is the fact that there's actually a standard process you can go through to resolve this conflict, but we're never taught it. As a result, we don't know what to do. That's what this flowchart is all about, helping you resolve conflict. So let's get into that. CORE is an acronym and it stands for Commit, Observe, Reflect, and Edit. Each represents a different colored section on the flowchart. On the flowchart itself, you can see diamonds and squares. Diamonds are questions that you have to answer, and squares are routines you have to follow or skills that you need to have. In all cases, if you're not sure what to do, you can click on the diamond or the square and they'll bring you to a web page that explains exactly what you need to know. Let's look at the first section, Commit. It starts with the question, do you want to be accountable? Now this may seem superficial, but it is actually really important because you are going to encounter people who don't believe their behavior is accountable to others. Now, as far as the corresponding process that talks about golden rule, potentially these are arguments you could use with this type of person, but in general, the whole purpose is to give you the philosophical basis for why our behavior is accountable to each other. Let's move on to the next section, Observe, where the process really gets going. It starts with the question, can you identify triggers? And this is incredibly important. During any given day, you are experiencing physical sensations all day long, and they are influencing your behavior. So you need to know what's going on inside your body so you can understand how these feelings are affecting the way that you think. The next question, can you regulate your emotions, is all about what you do with the triggers, from subtle to severe. If you just go on autopilot, you may be doing yourself a disservice. After all, you don't know where triggers are coming from. They are driven by your subconscious. So at this point, we tell you to master the art of not responding so you can figure out what is going on. Next, we ask you if you're alone, because after all, if you're with someone else, you may be overreacting or you may be responding properly to something that they are instigating. When someone else is present, however, always make sure that both of you are calm. After all, when you're not composed and you are agitated, you won't be able to resolve the situation logically. That's why we talk about the rule of sevens, giving you time to calm down. I'm going to gloss over the foresight model because it can take up a whole video by itself. However, you need to know that it's the glue that ties everything together. It explains why we experience feelings when we shouldn't, and also why we don't experience feelings when we should. Essentially, it's why we need to know that we're experiencing a trigger, why we're experiencing a physical sensation, so that we can question whether or not is this emotion misleading us or not, or should one be present that's not there. As we move into the Reflect section, the foresight model will integrate with everything. As we try to validate our own feelings, we will need to figure out if we are under or over experiencing guilt, shame, fear, or worry, and therefore skewing reality. The same is for validating a complaint. However, in that case, we can make the complaint and use the other person to help us determine if we are doing so. In both cases, when it comes to reframe misleading emotions, we will use the foresight model and different strategies based upon which feeling we are under or over experiencing. Now we move into our final section, Edit, where the rubber meets the road. If it's just us and the feeling is valid, we should engage in constructive action. After all, we have negative emotions for a reason. We're supposed to do something about it. In the other instance, if you're with someone else and you have a valid complaint, at this point you have to present your complaint in a civil and logical fashion. And we have some tricks so you can learn how to do that. Once you do that, the question is, what does the other person do with it? If they receive it and say, yeah, okay, you have a point, then basically your conflict has been resolved at that point. However, if they don't, and they kind of either dismiss you or disagree with you, at that point you have to decide, is this a deal breaker? Is this something worth removing this person for the rest of my life? Or should maybe I just put them on notice and keep interacting with them, but keep them at arm's length? So that's how the core flowchart works. Hopefully with this overview, you have some idea as to how to use it now. However, I do realize that both this video, as well as all the underlying material, all the media that I've written for the flowchart itself, isn't a 1.0 version. So I'm always happy to improve it. Please send me an email, give me feedback, let me know what you think about it, whether it's working or whether it's not working. Either way, it always helps me improve what I'm doing. Thank you for watching.